Welcome to the Guntersville Grassroots Podcast. My name's Pat Kennemer, and I'm your host. I'm here with my co-host, Trey Swindle. Trey's just rolled back in from somewhere in Tennessee fishing for smallmouth. We'll let him talk about that here in a little while. Today is April the 4th, 2022. I believe this is episode number 5. Is that right, Trey?
That's it, I think so.
Number 5, not counting our little intro. Got enough people that he's still driving over here to see me a few weeks, or every couple of weeks, so we can record a little. Before we get started in the stuff that's coming up or that's happened that we've talked about, on our last episode, we had one of the representatives from Team Vet here talking with us about their tournament that was supposed to be this upcoming weekend, April the 9th. Since then, that tournament has been canceled. There was some kind of internal organizational issues that resulted in some kind of chaos, and long story short, they're not having the tournament. If any other questions about that go beyond our scope, we just know what we're told. So you can go talk to the Team Vet folks with any other questions. But it's my understanding everybody's getting their money back that had already signed up. So, Big Bass Splash happened last weekend before last, and guess what? Cold and windy.
Yep. I'm sure there was floating grass too.
Yes. It changed directions with the wind every day, but floating grass between Friday, I fished it, between Friday and Sunday on the dock at Goose Pond, the water had fallen at least 18 inches. I mean, like for real, it was way low. You had to crawl up on the dock. And there were people banging up, hitting things and breaking props. And I mean, hey, I hit my boat at the Mink Creek ramp on Sunday afternoon, taking out. I hit my lower unit on the end of the ramp, loading my boat. I fished that thing forever. I'm idling in to put it on the trailer, and it hit so hard the motor died. Yeah, there was a little puddle of oil under it Friday afternoon, I noticed, and I did not use it this weekend. I've currently got it over at Freedom, getting to take a little peek and make sure I didn't tear anything up. It didn't look like lower unit though, but it was some kind of oil. Mo over there said he'd check it out for me. So, Patrick Anderson with a big old 10 something. I wrote 1047 on here, but I think it was 1067. Won the splash. That's a big old fish. Yeah, and again, I know you were a little preoccupied, but man, they caught them a lot better than I thought they were going to. They caught them like Trey Swindle catches them Monday through Thursday.
Yeah. That might be right. Not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's a different game. You know, I heard numbers. I don't know how many people they had. I was there a couple of times during the registration. I had some kids handing out Bass Cash Bash flyers. Skyline High School's fishing team came down there and did that for us. Handed out over 1,000, and that was not starting until 3:30. I heard 1,500 folks. But so, you're looking for one fish. Yeah, one fish out of that. But still, over 10, another guy named Donovan Williams, I think, from New Hope, had a 961, and then 3 other 8-pounders to round out the top 5. And to get a check every hour, almost every hour, took an upper 4. It was paying 15 places. So that was...
the top weight surprised me a little bit there. I figured a low 9, high 8 would win, but...
Well, the last 2 years it had been 8s, and I agree that one. When I heard that the first day, it was the first day I went, well, we're all fishing for second now, because that's a big old fish, and I mean this guy Patrick Anderson he's from somewhere in Limestone, Madison County. But he fishes Guntersville every weekend. He's a local, as far as I'm concerned. He fishes a lot, bunch of ABA stuff. But now he told me that was his 10th or 11th one over 10 pounds, since he's been fishing here for a long time, and had a couple over 11. And I've never had one of them. Now, a lot of those come in January and February, and I don't fish in January and February because I like fur and feathers, and that just cuts into my fishing. So, you fish a little bit during the winter, don't you?
I fish all year round, 365 days.
Right.
If I ain't working, I'm fishing, but I don't catch no 10s like that.
Yeah, I got
10 inchers maybe, but I ain't catching no 10-pounders.
Yeah, there was a lot of those to be had. I fished that thing Friday. The wind was manageable. And we caught quite a few fish. We got one check on Friday with a 495, 8th or 9th place, I think, that hour, which, 5-pounder, 9th place, whatever. Didn't really stumble into the fish till 9 or 10 o'clock. Caught that one, went and weighed it, went back to that area and fished for the next 3 hours and probably caught 25 on a little bit of everything. Some on a trap, some on a chatterbait, some on a spinnerbait. The one I caught came on a little chick magnet. Little
Strike King bait.
Yeah, that's a good little bait. I really like it.
It's a good one. I ain't threw it much yet, but
that Fritz side, it's a good bait. The chick magnet, you can just feel it a little more. It's got a little more thump to it.
Yeah.
To me, I like it a little better. And I had been catching a few on it, so I just happened to hit the right patch of not floating grass.
That's right.
And stumble into one. Saturday, the wind blew as hard as I have ever seen it blow due west on Guntersville. Now, if it'd been out of southwest, it'd have just been deadly out there.
Yep.
And it was pretty bad in places, and it really congregated the people.
Oh, I guarantee it.
I idled through the egg pond, and for those that don't know the egg pond, that's Goose Pond, like inside the marina and back towards the campground. It's always been the egg pond. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I had one little stretch in there of bank that I like better, and I actually got to fish it, but they dropped the water 8 or 10 inches from when I'd been there the weekend before and caught one decent fish, and the grass was 3 inches on the surface. You couldn't even fish it, and but there was 38 boats that I could see, and we went to go out the marina channel into the river, and the way that wind was blowing, it was kind of blowing straight out of the lower end of Mink Creek, straight up the river. Mm-hmm. And right there, because I really wanted to go up above Narandle Boat Shed a little bit because I felt like you could find some fishable water up there because of the wind direction. But they were 3-footer plus waves right outside of Goose Pond, and we made it about 100 yards and went, yeah, we're too old for this. We'll turn around. You'd have done it. I mean, it was doable, but it was one of those where you had to – I almost stuffed a couple waves. They were big. Sure. And so we idled right back through and went back down towards Mink and some other places and stayed out of the wind. Mm-hmm. Wind blew so hard that it blew my buddies. We were in a relatively slack area for the wind, and it gusted so hard it blew my buddy's hat off. It blew about 20 feet across the lake. We got it back. Had a wet head for a while. But when the wind's blowing hard enough when you're out of the wind, it was stupid. We only caught like 9 fish that day. Our biggest fish that day was a 3.5-pound spot. Dang. In 2 foot of water.
That's a big old spot.
It was a big old spot, and he thought he had something for a minute.
Oh, I guarantee it. Them suckers fight hard.
Yeah. That it looked like he had eaten a grapefruit. it was fat, and he said, "Oh man, of course we were just fishing where you could fit in anywhere the wind wasn't blowing. There was 20 boats. Yeah, and I despise that. I don't like being around people. I don't either. I try to get away from them. I've had some luck over the years doing that. You can get in the crowd and where there's obviously a bunch of fish and catch them, but I just don't like doing it. I go fishing to get away from people. So that weekend in the Bass Cash Bash, we had 2 that guys that I know of. I walked in Waterfront after the tournament on Friday or Saturday, and Paul was in the middle of one of his videos with that guy, which was kind of funny. Yeah. Because, and then Paul says, "Hey, you, Pat, come here." So I get drug into the video, and so we teased him just a little bit. He was a really good sport about it. And I asked him afterwards, I said, "Man, I'm surprised that you agreed to shoot that video." He goes, "Oh, he didn't give me a choice." I came in there and told him about it, and next thing I know, I'm standing behind a camera. So,
don't be that guy, and you won't have to get on.
That's right. Don't be that guy. So, interestingly enough, we're doing this at Wilson and Pickwick this year. Mm-hmm. I'm not running that part of it. Jimmy Mason is. Jimmy's a guide there and over here. Good guy. And for whatever reason, until about a week ago, they had not had a single fish caught. There was like none caught that admitted to it anyway. Yeah. For the first 2 or 3 weeks. And we're like, oh my God, what's going on? Because he released fish at tournaments. There was people there to see it. Hey, we really let him go. Mm-hmm. And then finally, somebody caught one. And then this weekend, and I didn't write down this because I just thought of it, but there was at least 4 that guys. One guy caught 2. out of the 4 or 5 that were caught at Pickwick this weekend, the only one that registered was a young man that was with him and his dad. But it was like a 10-year-old kid caught one, which is by far the best thing that could happen. You love seeing the kids catch them because, you know, they'll want to be like Trey Swindle when they grow up and start winning.
I wouldn't want to be like me. I'm sorry, buddy, whoever you are, if you're looking up to me.
You know, the splash, when the wind allowed, it was still windy on Sunday, and it was kind of cold. It was kind of. We were talking about this earlier. It's been cold for. I mean, I'm gonna need a new set of bibs just from 1 year.
I'm tired of that daggum cold. I bought a pair of bibs this year, and I've already wore them out. I've wore them so much.
Yeah, I mean, and you may have to. Where you're going next, you may have to wear them. You may have to wear 2 pair up there.
I looked at the weather. Surprisingly, it's warmer up there than it is here.
And is it Virginia?
Yep, it's 75 degrees up there today.
Huh.
But it's supposed to get cold over the weekend.
Do they get tornadoes in Virginia?
If I go up there, they probably will. They'll probably have one to tear the whole city down. Sorry, Richmond, Virginia, you finna get torn down.
It's just a North Alabama boy bringing some storms with him.
That's right.
So, have you been there before?
I've never been there before.
Never been there. Is it mostly smallies?
No, it's all largemouth.
It is all largemouth. Is it a river?
It is. There's smallmouth in there, but they say to get to them, you got to have a jet boat. Like, they won't be done weighed in.
Yeah, you don't need to try that in the Trident.
No. I've already run up on one rock pile before. I don't need to do another one.
No.
But it's a tidal water, so I've never fished tidal water before. Only water I've seen go up and down is the water in the commode. I don't know nothing about water fluctuating like that, so it's ought to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've got somebody to give you a little advice on it, but
I talked to Uncle G. I said, what do you think I need to do? He said, the only thing I can tell you is if you're in the back of a creek and you see the water moving, you better run. He said, you better get away from that creek.
So it'll go out from under you.
Dry. You'll be sitting on dry land until the tide comes back in. So he said, if you fishing down in a pocket or in a bay and you see the water moving, you better get out.
I hope they've got good maps too, because you could end up on a qualified captain video. I don't know if you've ever seen the qualified captain on Instagram or not. You should watch it. There's hours worth of viewing activity. You need to look it up later. The qualified captain. It is 100% people making fun of people doing stupid stuff in boats. Now a lot of it's pleasure boats, which is of course a lot of your stupid stuff, but. You got to watch it.
I have to look at that.
So speaking of water, they took all the water out of Guntersville. So Sunday it was way low. And after Friday we caught 8 or 9 fish each day, which we was having a hard time getting your lure in the water with the wind Saturday.
Yeah.
Sunday we lucked into one decent one. Did okay. While we were weighing on Friday, the guy that was fishing with me was sitting at the boat ramp, or sitting tied up to the Goose Pond dock. And I come back, and the guy that he was talking to said something about, hey, be sure and tell him what I said. Well, as it turns out, he was one of the guys that listens to our podcast. So he did not tell me your name, but thank you for listening. And if you want waypoints, reach out to Trey, because mine are pretty useless.
Mine ain't going to be not for no 10-pounders. You better be calling
right.
You better be calling Patrick Anderson for the 10-pounders.
His request was, hey, I really enjoyed it. Y'all need to start handing out some waypoints. And I'm like, man, just pick something off a map and go. That's these days. It's so different. But one of the other guys that caught a tag that weekend was from Michigan. He was staying with 2 boys from Coleman and one from Tennessee. And I said, well, man, you're just a Yankee with a bunch of rednecks. He goes, well, they call me Yank. He said, but one of my buddies here really loves your podcast. And I'm like, man, what's the chances of running into 2 different people at that tournament? I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep,
so here's a shout out to Yank and his buddy, who he told me his name, and I probably didn't write it down and I don't remember it. I'm sorry, but thank you very much for listening to that. So ended up with 3 tags caught. Three of this year's tags caught in the Bass Cash Bash, or caught during the Big Bass Splash, and one of the prior year's tags. So they got a Halo rod out of that and $500 because they had a bonus T-shirt. Had one yesterday. The guy caught in Seabold that I let go at Browns Creek. It's pretty interesting to see how much they. One other guy that caught a tag a few days before the splash was talking to a guy at Browns Creek. You know how this is. Talking to a guy that said his buddy caught the truck tag the day before and wasn't registered. They didn't call. They apparently knew about it. As I've said before, all we can do is let you know about it if you choose to be that guy.
Yep.
So Went this past weekend for a little while. I've had this sinus cold. I didn't really feel like going, but it's Saturday. If I don't go, my wife expects me to stay home every Saturday, so I've gone fishing every Saturday for years. We've been married almost 20 years at the end of this month. She's put up with it, so God bless her for that. So it was pretty slow for me. The fish didn't want to chase stuff. Something's changed.
Yep, they all getting ready to lock down on bed.
What were you? It took 19 pounds to win honeycomb and 19 something for a Mud Creek and almost 16 for the ABA couples and then Heartland on Sunday. Why does Sunday fish bite better than Saturday?
That's a good question.
It does.
Yep.
And dude, there really weren't that many people where I was. Now I wasn't around any fish. We stayed on the lower end. And I don't know your little lower end spot. There's a good chance that it was dry, as low as the water is.
Yep.
But I had not fished down there all year below the river bridge, stayed all reds and brown stuff, and it was just slow. We just didn't catch a lot at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now the water looks good, aside from
floating grass.
Floating grass.
Yep.
So it was getting clear. Wasn't bad at all. The water temps are really behind what the shoreline tells you. When you look at the trees on the bank and you see the dogwoods blooming and the other pink, all the blooms, you immediately think fish are spawning. Mm-hmm. Crappie are spawning. And crappie are starting to spawn, I was told, by the way. Sometimes Guntersville fish don't pay attention to the textbook. You've proven that already this year. You were catching them in 16 inches of water and when it was 50.
Yep.
But I think several of them have, I ran into Donald Johnson Saturday morning, who's a guide, and he told me that they were already had. He said it thought they'd been spawning for 3 weeks and they were about done already. I mean, not done, but there was some coming in, some coming out. I have not personally caught a post spawner. Everything I'd seen was either like a male or still good chunky. Mm-hmm. We caught a lot of 3.5 pounders a few days, but nothing. Those don't do any good in the big bass splash.
Yeah, that's right.
You'd have liked to have had a couple of them up there in Cherokee, wouldn't you?
God, Lord have mercy, that place. I'm sure we'll get talking about that here in a little bit, but
yeah. There's a story I want to hear a little bit more about. So, excuse me. Let's say the water was clearing up, looked pretty good. 58 to 62 water temps that I saw, and Trey hadn't been here, so he can't throw a whole lot in on that other than when he drove by a little while ago.
Yep.
Probably saw some floating grass.
I did.
It gets worse. They'll drop the water down and it kind of blows up on the banks and stuff. And then when you go, the first day you go, after the water comes back up a little bit, there seems to be floating grass everywhere. It's just like, and it's spread nice and evenly at that point. I think it just comes off the shoreline and just kind of floats around. It makes it really hard to do anything.
Yep.
If you can ever figure out what we can use on Guntersville to really fish the floating grass when it's like that, you might not ever have to work again.
You're right. I don't think there's such a thing, but
no, I don't either.
I'll get to thinking about that when I get bored.
Yeah. You're not going to have time to get bored. You're not for the next month or two. You're going to be busy.
I don't think I'm going to sleep in my own bed. I just got back from Cherokee yesterday, whenever I did. I'm so confused on time, but I think supposed to leave tomorrow, but that ain't going to happen. I'll be home just enough to realize I'm home, and then I'm gone again, and I don't think I'll sleep in my own bed for 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
4 weeks. I go straight from one to the next for 4 weeks.
It's a good thing you're young.
You're right.
By the way, Trey had a birthday a week or so ago. Yep. I sent him a happy birthday text. He didn't answer me. He's just that guy that doesn't do that. But I think he might be 22 now.
Yep, 22.
And 22. Yeah, so you can sleep anywhere.
That's right. I can sleep on the washing machine, on the table, the floor. It don't bother me. If I get tired enough, I'll sleep.
Yeah.
I ain't even got to have a pillow.
Oh. I say I'm old. I have to have the right pillow. I have to have the right pillow to sleep effectively at this point. So, our guest today is, and I should have mentioned this earlier and I didn't, is going to be Captain Tim Chandler, who is a longtime guide on Guntersville, a friend of mine. I ran into him the other day, was talking to him, and said, hey, I don't have anybody lined up for Monday. You want to do it? So I'm going to see if we can get Tim on real quick. He's going to have a lot more useful fishing information than Trey and I just over here jabbering around. So let me see if I can get Tim, and we'll bring him in. We've got Captain Tim Chandler on here with us. Tim's one of my friends. I've known him for a long time. Tim was out there catching fish and winning tournaments before he was a guide, and then one day said, I think I want to be a guide, and now he's stuck in it, and he's just a guide.
Yeah, I'm stuck in it.
How many years you been guiding, Tim?
I believe this is number 21.
21.
Yeah, so that shows you how old you are.
Well, Trey's 22.
Right.
He just turned 22.
Yep.
So, yeah, I know how old I am. Thank you, Tim. We're not that far apart, if at all. So,
No, we're not.
So I had just asked you before we started recording again if you had been out today. You said you'd been down to Smith, so that was pretty good down there.
Yeah, Smith's pretty good. There's a lot of you spotted bass are up real close to the bank, spawning. Water's got fair color to it. It's not crystal clear like Smith normally is. Water's actually out of the banks, which is what I love when it's over down there. So sometimes you can catch them out from underneath the picnic tables.
That's what I was about to ask you.
Yeah, no picnic tables right now. It's down. It's a little out of the banks, but it's not a lot out of the banks. But it's actually can't talk with my new lips here, but it's actually pretty good. So I mean, we probably caught, I would say, close to 30.
Wow,
it's not too bad.
Yeah,
good numbers. We didn't catch any bigs, but you know what? I'll take what I can get some days. So
yeah, no floating grass down there, right?
no floating grass. That's awesome. Not have to smack your bait on the water 118 times.
Yeah, you need to make sure everybody is fishing DT6s up here when they slap grass. That way you can buy 10 a day.
Yeah. Right.
So, Tim, we've been talking a little bit about, what had been going on Guntersville, and, we were actually impressed with the weights of the splash, and those fish were biting, and it was a little tougher on me when I got out this weekend for the first time since the weekend before. It was a lot tougher, but tell us what you're seeing on Guntersville.
Yeah, the last 3 days that I spent on Guntersville, which was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was tougher, a lot tougher. I mean, early in the week and the week prior, we were catching really, not huge numbers, but really nice quality fish. And we were actually catching ours really pretty shallow, 3 foot or less. And that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, almost like they left. It's like it was a real grind just to get bit. I had to try some different tactics, and we even changed over to a different tactic on Saturday and thought I found something because we caught 5 fish pretty quick, and then it just went right back to it. And I'm like, well, that was just luck. So,
hey, sorry, nothing wrong with a little luck.
Yeah.
What kind of tactics are you? Do you think those fish have spawned and left, or were locked on bed and not paying attention, or just not interested in baits?
Man, I think they might have been locked on bed. I actually started seeing fish on bed last week. Not a lot. They always have this early wave that comes in. The big waves always, it's still yet to come. That comes in April. And started seeing a few. And, there's a lot more little bucks, little small fish showing up shallow.
Yeah.
That's always a good sign. When you start seeing that, it's not far away. And, we was catching some fish, and all of a sudden it just left. So I'm just assuming that the ones that were up there, either they locked down. I don't think we had a small cold front over the weekend, but it wasn't major. I don't think that made them, back out because the water got cold. It's still 60. So
no, yeah, it was cold enough. I had to wear warm clothes till 2:00 Saturday. I'm sick of that.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's fishing. You think you got to figure it out, and they always do something and make you say, ooh, maybe I ain't got to figure it out. I still learn every day I go out there. So
right, and you've been doing it for a long time. So
long time. So
of course, then they threw the eelgrass in the mix.
Yeah, the eelgrass is for me, I like it. I know you probably won't find a lot of people that say that. I love to fish it. I hate it when it's floating on top.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. But because you might pull into an area where you smoked them yesterday, and you can't even fish it today, and you'll have to come back 3 hours later,
Yeah, I agree. Trey's got a theory that if there's not floating grass, there's no fish there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good theory. That's a great theory. I have to agree.
That's what a lot of people hate on the eelgrass, but I'm with you. Like it does suck when it's floating around, but man, you can catch them in it. Like they live in it.
Yes, sir. They love that eelgrass. It's definitely a love-hate relationship.
I agree. And do you think it's changed some of the places they spawn?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big time. Because, places, let me see if I can't think of one right off the top of my head, specific area, but a lot of places you could go to, and it would be milfoil, and they would be spawned, and inside the milfoil you see little holes and stuff. And now that this eelgrass has took over, a lot of those places is solid carpet. Those holes are no longer there, so they can't spawn in it. And it's like that. I think it's actually pushing them out deeper to spawn because you just don't see as many spawning up in that 2 to 3 foot range.
Yeah,
there's so much of it. I mean, it's literally like a carpet.
I've wondered if I mean, I felt like it moved them, and I'd wondered about deeper, and some places I wonder about shallower, like of course
absolutely.
the shallower right now is probably mud. With what TVA's had going on the last few days, but
I don't understand. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but believe it or not, I have reached out to the local biologist, and I'm hoping to get a call from him this week to talk to him shortly. I want to know a little bit more about it. I'm going to try to get him on here just to, to say, I mean, they have a normal operating range, but I know that it was low at the end of the splash and over the weekend. It
was low, and it's actually been, a good friend of mine, fellow guy, John Maynard, we've been talking about it. It's low. It's like lowest I've seen in maybe 15, 20 years. And, you say something to somebody and they say, well, the internet says, well, the internet don't mean nothing to me because you can say whatever you want to on that, and I know what the internet says. It says it's 593 something or another, and it's lower than that. It's much lower than that. I mean, I've seen humps that are sticking out of the water you never see sticking out of the water. And my theory is this, and I could be totally wrong. Won't be the first time I'm wrong, and definitely won't be the last time I'm wrong. But I think they're keeping it low. I think the coots are wearing out the eelgrass. And my theory is this because I've seen eelgrass, and playing really shallow places that's not there anymore. It's gone.
Yeah, you think maybe they're working on the shallow eelgrass a little bit?
Yeah, because I mean, you got a lot of boathouse owners that have complained about this eelgrass over and over and over. And I cannot blame a boathouse owner one bit, because if I had a boathouse, I would hate it around mine too. So I don't blame them for complaining. So I think that's maybe TVA combating that a little bit, seeing what will happen if they keep it low.
Mm-hmm.
Let the ducks take it. Let the weather take it, the waves take it out. It's a shot.
I do think there's a better time to do it though than right during the spawn.
Absolutely.
That's my only complaint about it is that's a great idea, and if it helps, that's great and wonderful. But there's a whole lot better time to do it than when these big bass are trying to spawn, because they only try to spawn so many times before they give up on it.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think they probably should have brought it up about a week and a half ago earlier. But,
yep.
It's come up a little bit since over the weekend. I was actually at Guntersville this morning at the campground whenever I left and headed to Smith. So, I mean, it's up more than what it has been. Let's just say that. Not up where I'd like to see it, because a lot of my stumps, there's a good stretch of stumps down there in all reds that's sticking out of the water. There's usually fish spawning on them.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I saw those. I saw several sticking out of the water that I have never seen out of the water.
Yeah, I usually like to find them with a trolling motor, not with my eyes.
Yeah, no. I actually learned of a few a little further out that I had not ever eyeballed. Right. that were a little deeper, but they had 6 inches of water on them this time. But
exactly.
So what's going to be the go-to way to catch fish for the next 2 or 3 weeks in Captain Chandler?
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're going to have the big wave of the spawns coming. It's going to be somewhere around that full moon, and your soft plastics are going to be the major player. It always is. You don't have to see the fish to catch them when they're spawning. You can fan cast areas. Cinco type baits are really, really good. Your lizards, your creature baits, stuff like that. That's going to be a big player. There's so many fish in Lake Guntersville that they can't all spawn at the same time. So you'll still have pre-spawn fish, and you're going to have these post-spawn fish that are doing it right now. And you'll be able to catch them. They'll move out a little bit, and all they're going to be thinking about is feeding back up eating.
Right.
So, your swim bait's going to come into play. Your square bill's going to come right back into play. And if we get the right weather and water clarity's right, you could see a pretty good topwater bite come in.
What's your answer for floating grass and topwaters?
Woo!
Go somewhere else.
That's $1 million question.
I'll tell you what I do, and I think it's made up. You can't throw a spook. I don't care what you do. You can't throw a spook. You can't hardly throw any kind of walking bait besides a frog.
Right.
You can't walk a frog, and that's actually a really good option. But what I usually do when you see floating eelgrass, I can't throw it up in a big pile of it, but those scattered strings, I throw a pop-R on braid.
Yeah.
And yes, I can tell the difference when it gets snagged on it, and I can pop it really hard. And most of the time, I can pull that little piece of grass off, and I can go back to working at that 2 inches or 2 more foot before it hits another piece.
Right.
You have to do it again, and then I can't get it off every time, but I feel like I can do it enough to have pretty good success on it.
What pound braid you use for that?
I like a 30.
30.
When you start getting up in there to that 65 range, it's so much stiffer. What we usually flip with or frog with,
right?
And it don't cast as well. It just doesn't. So I usually, use a light rod that's got a lot, a slow tip, and just a 30-pound braid.
Yeah,
that's what I like. So.
Yeah, straight braid all the way to the bait, no leader or anything.
Yep, straight braid. Take you. They sell a big old fat Sharpie that's about 1 inch wide. Take that Sharpie and take a razor blade and slit the top of it. That braid will fit right down in it. You just pull the line through it and it'll color it black. Black disappears better in the water than any of those green colors that they try to do braid.
Right.
And the sun is going to bleach it out after using it, even on the black.
Yeah.
You can just color it back that first 5-10 foot. Works great.
Yeah. Do you think you're catching spawners on the topwater like that?
Absolutely, you catch spawners. I was catching fish 2 weeks ago when it was good. I was catching some fish on pop-R. What you have to have, you got to have 4 or 5 warm days in a row, and you get the right watercolor, and you can catch them on it. And no, you ain't gonna set the world on fire with it, but you're gonna catch them. The ones you're gonna catch are gonna be nice. But what always shuts it down, the first front that comes in, and we get rain and storms, it'll shut it down. It'll be like that until we get 4 or 5 more warm days in a row.
Yeah, and we hadn't had a whole lot of that. We've had a lot more storms and fronts the last few weeks. But
yep, that's right.
When it was warm for 4 or 5 days in a row, Trey was out fishing 4 or 5 days in a row. And
yeah, I'm sure.
you know what I was doing? I was working.
Yeah, you're always working.
Well, that's just what we have to do, I guess. So I'm not working. Well, I guess I'm working right now, but I'm working for fun. So, so you really think the big wave of spawn's not here yet? It's just getting started. We just had a new moon last week, so we're a few weeks away from the full moon. So we're gonna have a good mix. I mean, April should be pretty good.
I think it'd be good. I mean, I always tell clients that come, they want to experience the best. I said April, May, June's the best 3 months by far, and then May's the easiest month.
Right.
If you can't catch a fish in May, you got to find a new hobby.
Yeah, you can catch them anywhere you want to, chasing brim, chasing crankbaits, chasing whatever,
you can catch them whatever you want to catch them on. So pretty easy.
That's actually pretty funny. I hadn't heard that, but and I don't like May because they get skinny.
They do.
You'll catch those big-headed fish that don't have any guts, but they are eating. They are.
They're eating,
and they're spread out. So, have you been staying as busy as you want to be?
It's yeah. I mean, I can't say I'm not busy because I am busy, but it seemed like it took a little bit longer this year for the phone to ring and the emails to go off and I blame that on the cold weather. We have not had any warm weather.
Right.
It's like every week you turn around, and just like this weekend, they're saying the low is supposed to be 32 degrees. So I think this weekend.
I know, and you're supposed to be able to plant by the end of next week. James Spann says that after next weekend we'll be okay to plant our vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, but we'll have what they call blackberry winter and Indian summer and all that crazy stuff that they come up with. We'll have that.
Yeah.
It's just usually February, March. We'll get that solid warm week, and boy, people will get the bug, and the phone will go to ringing, and it hadn't really done that. I mean, I'm full. I think I got like 2 days left in April, so anybody wants that, call. But I think it'll be wide open. I don't have much for May.
Well, if anybody does want to talk to you about booking a trip, how do they need to get a hold of you?
Well, you can call me at 256-655-8829. So just go to Google and search Tim Chandler's Pro Guide Service. I promise you it'll pop right up. Pop right up,
yeah. Well, Tim, I really appreciate the info. You taking a few minutes to talk with us. It's always good to talk to you. You definitely know how to catch a fish on Guntersville and keep people happy. You've had a lot of folks coming back fishing with you for years. So
yes, sir, I have. I appreciate it, and we keep on chugging away.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Tim.
Yes, sir. Y'all take care.
Thanks to Tim for coming on, talking with us. Tim's always got good information. He's a good guy. People really enjoy fishing with him. Be sure and give him a call if you're looking for a guide trip on Guntersville. We've been real fortunate on Guntersville to have lots of guides. I know several of them. Trey probably knows more than I do just from being the GTO employee that he is. Speaking of GTO, I text Jana, Paul's wife, over there this morning and said, hey, what's the hot baits going right now? And it's changed a little bit, which we talked about that last time. It felt like it would be. And she said that Cincos, mag drafts, chatterbaits, big bopper swim worms, which I guess is, I'm not familiar with that one. I guess that's like a Zoom speed worm or something like that, and jigs. So, and you mentioned a mag draft off there a minute ago. That's a little swim bait, right?
Yeah.
I've never fished one of them. Are they?
They're
legit?
pretty good baits.
Yeah.
They're.
Is that a mega bass?
It is. Yeah, it's a 6-inch like line throw swim bait. It's got a treble hook already in it. You just tie it on and go to throwing it.
$20 bill.
About 13.
About 13.
Yeah,
that's cheap nowadays. I mean, that's like 2 gallons of gas.
Jackhammer's like.
Whoa, $17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a couple the other day and it did not catch I bought a couple of other ones, and one specific one that my buddy caught the 7-pounder on in the splash the other day, and did not get a bite on it. Did not catch a single fish on a chatterbait. Chatterbait was really a big thing the weekend of the splash. We caught several on it. He caught that really good one on it, and then the very next cast, line twisted around the tip, and he broke it and it flew across the lake. Yeah, so, but that's all right. He won an hour with that, so
he made his money back.
He made his money back. So, like Tim said, the plastics are going to be the player for a while. Those post spawners get kind of grumpy.
Yeah.
They just get lethargic, and I felt that this weekend, and I fought it. I finally picked up a creature bait that I had in my box and started throwing around and caught a few little ones on it. But and some of those little bitty bucks he's talking about, like little bitty, but I'm glad I wasn't the only one. If the guy that fishes 5 or 6, 7 days a week struggling, then I don't feel quite as bad.
That's
so,
right.
And I heard several other folks. I'm sure some of the people listening are probably like, you see all week when you got the Treys of the world that's been out there fishing. And it wasn't you this week. You were somewhere else struggling. So, tell us a little bit about your trip to Cherokee Lake.
I say Cherokee Lake's where dreams go to die, because I was going into that one good in points and had my hopes high, which I salvaged points the second day, but it was pretty tough. It's got largemouth and smallmouth in it, and being from around here, I'm not much on smallmouth. I mean, smallmouth kind of similar to a spot, the way they act sometimes, like at Smith. And so, I kind of know how to catch some, but I went up there and fished for smallmouth for a couple of days and just never, I just couldn't get it going. I threw a little bitty swim bait. I saw them on live scope, and they'd run from my swim bait and run from my jerk bait. For
real?
I did catch one about 3.5, 4 pound smallmouth on a jerk bait, but it was just random, and I just couldn't get it going. So I went and fished how I like to, throwing a crankbait and a chatterbait, for largemouth, like up real shallow. And the first day I was up there, and I caught two big ones on a swim bait up shallow, and I caught 2 big ones on a crankbait, and I caught a couple on a chatterbait, and I was like, I'm doing that the whole time, fish for largemouth. I wasn't getting many bites. As the practice went on, I was getting kind of less bites, but I knew if I got 5 bites a day and I landed them, I'd have between 16 and 18 pounds, which I thought would win. So that's what I did.
So you felt pretty good.
I felt pretty good. I just knew that I wasn't getting many bites.
Yeah.
I knew I was getting the right bites, but I just knew I wasn't getting many. But I knew that the fish were coming to me. They were coming to spawn. Whether they were going to be spawning or not, I knew it was kind of too cold for that, but I knew they were headed my way, which you hear that all the time. People say, they're coming to me.
What was the water temp up there?
It was mid-50s.
That's above Knoxville. So, it's 80 miles away from
Yep,
here or something
yep.
like that.
So it was in the mid 50s, but like I said, I knew they were coming to me. And the first day of the tournament, I was sitting good in points. I've never really been in that situation before, as good as I was coming out of Florida. So I will be honest, I just fished scared. I fished to salvage points, and I got in my head. And the first spot I pulled up to, I caught 3 that weighed 10 pounds, and I lost 2 4-pounders right at the boat, trying to grab them on treble hooks on a crankbait. I mean, I touched both of them, and they both come off. And
ouch.
So I wouldn't say I spun out. It hurt me mentally, but I was fine. But I knew in the area I was fishing, I saw about 3 or 4 boats, and it was Matt Robertson, Garrett Paquette. I don't know how to say his last name. I probably just messed that up, but he fished the Elite Series. Brian New, and there was one other one I can't remember, but he fished the Elite Series too. So I was fishing around some really good guys, sharing water. Right. And those guys don't leave nothing behind. So after I lost those 2 big ones, and I should have already had 16, 18 pounds in the box, I just got spun out thinking I was wasting my time fishing behind them because we were all rotating the same stuff. So I left and run down the lake to my other fish and fished for 4.5 hours and never had another bite. So I weighed in 3 for 10 pounds, and I was down there on the leaderboard with a printer runs out of ink. I mean, they called them.
That was on day one, right?
That was on day one.
After the real day one got canceled.
Yeah, after the first day got canceled. So it was actually the second day, but first day of the tournament. And I was way on down there, but I knew what I did when I left that creek and I went down the lake. I knew when I got down there and fished for an hour, I had messed up. And I needed to be in that creek, but there was nothing I could do because that lake's a bigger lake. I ain't got enough gas to run back up there. So I kind of just...
It's a $150, $200 decision.
Yeah, so, and then if I run up there and catch them and I run out of gas and can't get back, it don't do me no good. But I knew I had them. I knew I had them the second day. I told Uncle G and Daniel, I said, I fished scared the first day, but y'all's bunch mine tomorrow. And I did. I had 16 pounds the second day and come way back up the leaderboard, salvage points. So it was pretty good. I was a little disappointed I didn't catch no smallmouth, but... If they weigh 16 pounds.
16 pounds is 16
pounds.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hate you lost those 2. That would I was rooting for you.
It was. I don't ever like to be that guy, but
I mean, you touched it. I mean, you touched them. You saw
them. It was there.
Yeah.
I mean, I had them. Right
treble
there
hook fish. You said, like traps or something.
Yeah, traps, crankbait, stuff like that. And it was just wasn't my day.
Did you learn anything?
I learned not to be stupid, not to fish scared.
Right. Don't run from those people because they can have, they're
and I was just in my head. I knew like the whole time I was like, you did good in Florida. Don't screw this up. Because everybody, you can ask anybody that fishes the Opens or the Toyota Series, like you don't get the chance to be that high in points many times. Like it's just so hard to compete. So in my mind, it was just running through like, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. And I just fish scared. I was like, I'll just run down the lake and fish down there. And I don't know. I just should have never done that. I should have stuck with my gut and stayed up there and fished for 5 big ones.
Kept chunking.
I no doubt in my mind, if I'd have stayed up there, I'd have caught them. Because I did the second day. I stayed in there all day, and I bet I caught 30 or 40 fish. They were, like I said, they were coming to me, and it was getting better. And I found an old piece of road bed up there the second day because I wasn't fishing scared. I was fishing with nothing to lose, and I just fished my strengths. I just fished up shallow, and if I saw a piece of brush, I'll tell you a funny story. One little Christmas tree on a roadbed somebody had sunk for crappie. That lake fluctuates about 40 feet.
40 feet?
40 feet. So it was about 22 feet low. And there was a roadbed and about 2 foot of water, and they had sunk brush all the way down it. And every piece of brush I come to, I caught one on a chatterbait. But there was one piece of brush that I threw in there, and I caught one, about a 4-pounder, and I threw back in there and caught a 3-pounder. I mean, I checked my line, put him in the live well, fired right back in the same little stick, caught another 3-pounder. And I was like, I threw in there a couple more times, didn't get a bite. And I passed it on. My co-angler was a super nice guy. And I said, man, I'm done fishing that piece of brush. If you want to throw in there. He threw in there and he caught one. He caught about a 3-pounder. So, I mean, there's 3 fish out of the same stick. So I put the poles down. Yep, 1 stick. So I put the poles down, and he threw back in there and caught another one, about 2.5-pounder. And we come back an hour later, and he finished his limit. He weighed in 3 for 9.7 off that 1 stick. And I weighed in 2 that over 3 right there.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, and you could just run a rotation of that shallow stuff, and they were just moving up as the day
replacing
went on.
themselves.
I mean, it was the craziest thing, and I was like, man, I'm dumb. I'm dumb.
You should have not left it the first day. Yeah.
If I'd have stayed up there and caught 16 again, I'd have been in the top 10. I'd have been in third in points.
That would have been fantastic, wouldn't it?
But no. I like to fight from behind, so I'm right.
Well, yeah. So. I watched one of your uncle's videos. Tell me about some, and I'll mess it. I don't even know how to say it. Tell me about some Lululemon shorts or something like that. I thought that was girls' clothes.
It ain't.
He chimed in and had you and your buddy Daniel on there and said something about, you said they were life changing.
They are. They're comfortable.
Tell me why they're life changing. I wrote that down when I saw it.
They're the most comfortable pair of shorts I've ever worn in my life. Now they're expensive, but I didn't pay for mine. I got spoiled. So I didn't pay for mine. But they were making fun of me because I paid that much for shorts. And I said, all right, now let me just make a point here to all y'all ladies out there making fun of guys for paying that much for shorts. Let me just point something out. I have a $60 pair of shorts on. TJ Maxx sells them for $5. You can buy a pair of shorts for $5. I get that. But what I'm saying is, what kind of purse you toting around, girls? A Louis Vuitton?
Easy. You're trading on some expensive.
That's $3,000. So what's wrong with a Michael Kors? They sell a purse at Walmart while you toting around a Louis Vuitton purse. I'm just saying, don't be hating on me. Don't be hating on me. Y'all toting around a Louis Vuitton purse, making fun of me for paying $60 for a pair of shorts.
Your uncle in some of his videos, but I believe he called it the Chronicles of Trey and Daniel, something to that effect. And I happened to click on that one, and I went, "Oh, we're gonna talk about that."
I ain't scared to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know why we keep coming back to Trey's garments, but he did fish in his dude shoes up there, and his feet only got cold when they got wet one time. I told him he needed a Trey Swindle pair of insulated dude shoes. He said he was good for that sponsorship if dude shoes wanted to hook him up with it.
That's right.
But I don't think I've ever seen him in anything but dude shoes. So I saw the how do you say it?
Lululemon.
Lululemon. I saw that store today in Huntsville when I was driving, and I chuckled, and I thought, I'm going to talk to Trey about his fancy shorts, because apparently him and Daniel had matching shorts.
I didn't know they were matching. We did have Lululemon shorts on, both of us did.
I did not know that was a thing, but again, I'm a little over double his age, so I might get made fun of a lot if I was wearing Lululemon shorts.
You might.
I don't have any dude shoes either.
Hey, I just let them make fun of me. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable.
That's funny. So where are you headed next?
I'm headed to James River in Richmond, Virginia. I actually am supposed to head out in the morning. Now, whether that happens or not with everything I got to do before I go, I don't know.
And that's river fishing, like Coosa River type stuff, or
it's
similar.
It's a tidal water, so it's kind of when the water. They say when the water's moving, everybody I've talked to say it fishes kind of like the Coosa River. Like
you got a little experience on that.
I got a little bit of experience on that. The way I've heard they catch them up there. It really fits my style, and like I said, that tidal water, it coming in and going out, fluctuating, it's going to throw me for a loop. But I think if I ever get the hang of it, and they're on what I like to do, which they should be.
Yeah, it's going to be pre-spawn stuff up there for sure, right?
It should be pre-spawn, heavy pre-spawn, cypress trees, lily pads.
Oh, there's some grown ones up there?
Oh yeah, it took 27 pounds to win on Saturday, 27 3/4.
Oh, so there's going to be some big bags.
Yeah, second place was 27 1/4, and third place was like high 26.
This is a Northern Open, so you do that, and then you're coming back here. Is there an ABT or something?
Yeah, I'm home for Cherokee for about 2 days. I go to James River. And I leave straight from James River and go to Weiss Lake. I'm home for a day, I think, one day. And then I go to Weiss Lake for the ABT, and I leave straight from the weigh-in at Weiss Lake and drive to Ross Barnett and start practice for the first Central Open the next day. So
don't forget to do a little work.
My boss ain't going to like me.
He knows what you're doing. You just going to have to give up a little more of that sleep and take care of that stuff at night.
Which I did. I didn't work at all when I was up there in Cherokee. My mind was just dead set on that tournament, and that's what I did all night last night. Stayed up and worked and got caught up, and I worked all work.
You look a little sleepy today. I don't know.
I'm a little out there, but hey, I'm caught up with work. All I got to do is go do some maintenance on the boat before I head to James River and catch them up there. Tournaments
coming up. There's a good list on the Bass and Big G website. I'm going to kind of run through them, talk about a couple. There's a high school tournament out of Goose Pond this weekend. I think it's supposed to be a pretty good size one. If you're going fishing, put your boat in somewhere else. That'll probably be a zoo on Saturday.
That's right.
I don't think they have high school tournaments with less than 300 boats anymore. I don't know. Fishers and Men out of the state park. NBT, National Bass Trail Tournament out of Waterfront. There is a kayak tournament. They don't have a specific ramp, so if you're running around on Guntersville this weekend, watch out for the little boats. Those guys, the numbers of those folks are really growing. I would say the $80,000-$90,000 bass boat price probably plays a factor in that, and you can go some places you can't get in a bass boat.
Yep.
So, got your normal Wildcats. I believe there was a Monday today. I had not been on Facebook to look at results. Honeycomb, Sunday's got another Heartland Anglers. They had one this past weekend. He's running several pretty quick together. But you've got to fish 4 in the same district to qualify for their classic. Weekend after next is the Freedom Marine Tournament. That is a great tournament that Ken over there at Freedom Marine puts on. If Trey was going to be here, he'd be in that one.
You're
for
right,
sure.
I would. For sure.
And first place, it's a $200 entry. You need to have registered before the 9th of April for the $200 fee. After the 9th, it goes to $225. You can register online at freedommarincenter.com or in the store itself if you want to go in there. Somebody in there to take your money. First place, $5,000. Pays $1,000 for 5th, and the spread out between there. 6th through 9th is $500. 10th place is $1,000. And correct me if I'm wrong, but every 10th place,
is $1,000, and every 5th place is $500
through 100 places.
Through 100 places.
So
if you finish 55th, you make $500.
So you can finish 40th and make more money than 19th.
Yep.
19th is $500. Which, don't get me wrong, if you finish 19th in a tournament on Guntersville and you paid $200 in and you get $500, that's pretty good. I mean, that's ABT
good,
money, you know. And they've got some pretty cool other things. They've got a $1,000 bonus paid to the highest finishing team of Phoenix owners, co-eds. Go carry your wife. They got an extra $1,000 to the highest finishing military team, the highest first responders, and the highest parent-child teams. He's handing out a lot of money, and he's having a shrimp and crawfish bowl to weigh in. Mm-hmm. So not only for that $200, it's almost like a gamble. You may catch 5 pounds and get 100th place and get $1,000, and you get some shrimp.
Yep.
So
yep.
I mean, the key to a man's heart is some food.
That's right.
So it's a good event. I fished it several years. I always fish that with my buddy Tom Ott. He used to have a Phoenix, so that was how we started off with that. He's moved on to a Camus now. But and then the weekend after that is the casting and catching tournament out of Goose Pond, which is a fundraiser. It is one of the Freedom and that one are 2 of the biggest tournaments on the lake, back-to-back weekends. April's pretty busy, even for those of us that are staying put.
That's right. So I will go ahead and call it. Willie Staten and Gil Summerlin will win the Freedom tournament.
You think so?
Yep, ain't no doubt in my mind.
Okay.
If they don't win, they'll be top 3.
I don't. I'm
gonna go ahead and tell you they'll win.
You're calling it. What's the weight?
They'll have 23.5.
23.5. That's a pretty good weight for April because, you know, they start, we were talking with Tim a minute ago, they start getting kind of funky and spawny. And so you're calling it. You feel like we need to tell them. Well, I'm going to reach out and go, hey, by the way, you guys are on the spot now.
Hey, you could put as much pressure in the world on them and they'd still catch them.
No, they don't care.
Willie, I like Willie. He's a good fisherman.
And they know how to catch them. They really do. So
and Willie can go out there and he won't be on the lake for 3 years and he'll go catch 23.5 pounds and say, man, I just stumbled up on
a 1/4-ounce rattle trap.
He'll say, on that 1/4-ounce rattle trap, man.
Yeah.
He said, I tell you, little swindle, you need to be throwing it. And I'm like, well, 23.5 pounds, don't bite mine. I got 12.
Yeah. Well, on Monday through Thursday they do.
That's true.
So, that's pretty much a wrap for the day. Trey, thanks for riding over and giving us a few minutes of your time before you head out on your next adventure. Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope you. Well, this is a different division, so it doesn't really even count towards points. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
Overalls, yeah.
You said they do a super score too, right? Mm-hmm. So you're starting. This is the first one of the Northern.
Yep. So they do the Southerns, the Centrals, and the Northerns points separate, and then they have an overall. So we've had 2 Southerns already, and I think I'm 22nd in points in the Southerns out of 225, and then that'll be the first Northern.
Okay. So if you win that one, you're first.
Yep.
So that's all you need to do. So good luck on that trip. Be careful. Enjoy $3.97 a gallon or whatever. Right. Keep your trolling motor wet and your motor turned off. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends. Till next time, enjoy the floating grass.